This podcast is brought to you by PLI, the Practicing Law Institute, providing resources to legal professionals and the law librarian community. For more information, go to pli.edu/librarian.
Hi, I'm Karen Osterly. Thanks for listening. As a practicing law librarian myself, I've been working in the legal information profession for 36 years, currently with PLI's Library Relations team. CJ Pipins, Director of the Law Library and Professor of the Practice at the University of Baltimore Law Library, shares his excitement about how his team is using AI at his law school. He discusses the quiet room that his library offers to patrons and his commitment to keeping the perfect from being the enemy of the good. Come listen to our engaging conversation. Hi, I'm Karen Osterly, and I'm Director, Legal Research at Practicing Law Institute in New York. And I'm here today with CJ Pipins. I'm going to ask him to read his title to me or say it to me because it's complicated. But CJ, what is your title these days?
Well, these days I am the Director of the Law Library and Professor of the Practice at the University of Baltimore School of Law.
Thank you. Thank you. And how did we meet?
Oh my goodness. We met on a train. We were going to the SEAL annual meeting in, I think, 2023.
It was Richmond, so I think
Richmond.
23.
Yeah, 2023. And we got stuck on the train. And I feel very fortunate for this story now because I met you. But yeah, we were not in the right part of the train to be able to get off of the train in Richmond. And so they took us further down the road to Williamsburg. And that was definitely an adventure that evening.
That was an adventure. We were really unhappy. Really unhappy about it. But I got to meet you, but we didn't even know that evening, or I didn't even know that evening that you were a law librarian going to the same convention. The next morning, conference started and you were the outgoing president. I was like, oh, it's you. So then,
yes.
Then we met. And so we've been in touch ever since, which has been a delight. So how did you become interested in law librarianship? How did you get to be director of the law library at Baltimore?
Well, I became interested in law librarianship when I was in law school. So when I was an undergrad, I got a BFA in musical theater. And so I moved to New York and I was auditioning and taking dance class and doing all the starving artist stuff. And eventually various years went by, and then I always had considered law school. So I went to law school, but I didn't really, have a huge desire to be a lawyer. I just was like, this seems like a good way to pay the bills while I figure out. And I was very fortunate that I got a work study job in the library, and I just fell in love with the work I was doing there and the people. And eventually I met the library director, Camille Broussard, who's just a wonderful mentor to me throughout, ever since that's, all of that started. And the rest of the librarians at New York Law School, they were just wonderful and supportive. So I got to do a bunch of different things there before I even finished law school, and sort of cemented that was finally something that I really wanted to do and could see myself doing, as a career. And so that's how I got into law librarianship. After law school, I went to the University of Arizona and did a fellowship. So I worked at the law school there and I got my library degree, and that just set me off.
So you did those consecutively, no gap in between. That is very cool. I had not remembered that you were at New York Law School. So was Mike Roffer there when you were there?
He was, yeah.
Okay.
He was one of my... Yes. He was one of my professors, and I got to work with him on a couple of things.
He's terrific. He's the person I know best there, and then I've met many of the others. But that really was a fortunate break for you. So that is terrific. And then you went to the other end of the country practically to go to library school.
Yes, yeah, that was another adventure. I'd never been to Tucson. I just sort of knew that I needed to do something to get into this and doing what I wanted. And again, Camille had said, well, Mike Chirazi's down there doing his thing in Arizona. You can't go wrong if you do that. So, she helped me get myself together and get in the program. And I showed up in Tucson with my cat and spent a couple of years there.
That is excellent. And then did you come to Baltimore right away after that?
No, the next thing I did, once I finished library school, I got a job at Florida Coastal School of Law in Jacksonville, Florida. So back across the country, but stayed south.
Okay. So was there?
Yep, 3 years there. And then I moved up to Baltimore and I was at the University of Maryland.
Okay.
For 6 years.
Oh, many wonderful librarians there too.
Yes.
And then you came to the other side of town?
Yes, then I went about a mile up the road, and it turns out at that time I lived smack dab in the middle, so the walk didn't really change, the commute to work didn't change. And so, I came up to the University of Baltimore to be the Associate Director for Public Services. And then about 2 years later, they decided to make me the Deputy Director. And so I did that for 2 years, and our director retired, and I did interim for about 14 months. And here I am, the director now.
Wonderful. You're going to be there forever?
I don't know. Sometimes I think so. I mean, I bought a house. I mean, I'm 4 blocks away. Yep. And so I'm definitely here for a long time, I think. And
excellent.
Quite possibly forever.
You know, all academic librarians know what you mean by public service, but those of us that never worked in schools don't really know the phrase. So what do you guys mean? What do you mean when you say librarian for public services?
Oh, so I was the Associate Director for Public Services, which meant that I was in charge of both circulation and reference. Okay. So the circulation department, the desk and the student workers and the circulation librarian, they all were part of my team. And I was, in charge of making sure all that worked well and flowed well. And then also reference and instruction. So any of the librarians who teach in the program, any instruction that we did, and also the reference services that we provided to faculty, staff, the public that comes in. I was in charge of those programs and
Wow.
that department as well.
So everything that's public facing. Okay. And does that include faculty requests and faculty research? Okay. So you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if there was a different person for that or a different group for that. Okay. So everything. And what patrons, you sound like you were open to the public. So faculty, staff, students, and the public.
Yep. And the public, everybody. Members of the bench and bar, alums. Yeah, we are open. When I first got here, of course, the world was different because it was pre-pandemic. Right. So we were wide open. Anybody who wanted to come in the building could just show up and come in and ask for help and ask for things. And that has changed. But we still, to some extent are open. People have to make an appointment if they're not a member of the law school community.
Okay. That makes sense. So they can still come, but there's one more little hurdle.
Yeah.
No, I used to call on county law librarians, and I would say, who are you open to? The bench and the bar and the public. And sometimes it wasn't the public. Sometimes it was just the bench and the bar. But, and you know this, many law school libraries are not open to the public these days. So it's nice to hear that you guys are.
Yeah.
Really nice to hear.
I like it. I think it's a source of stress, especially when people remember the old way and they want to show up and just come in and security won't let that happen.
Not these days. Well, it's funny. I went to our San Francisco office last week, and in New York, I have a building pass to get in, and then I have another app on the PLS phone to get into the office part. And so I went out to San Francisco, and I stopped at the desk in the lobby and said, "Do you need to see anything, any ID for me to go up to PLI?" He said, "No, elevators are there. It's the 23rd floor." And it had been a long time since, I'd been able to enter a building, an office building in a big city without that. So that was kind of interesting. Now we're used to what you're talking about. So can you talk about some tools that you've created? Because I feel certain, as creative as you are, that you've made all kinds of tools during your tenure there for, different groups, whether it's faculty or students or staff. You want to talk about some of those?
Sure. I mean, I think thinking of something that I created, I mean, I have to say, I always sort of stand on the shoulders of giants. Like, I think, I can't really take credit for, creating something from scratch or, without any sort of idea from anyone or anywhere else. But, I mean, I think one thing that I think I I think I've had a hand in creating. I think I've curated the team that I have right now fairly well. I think there's, I've been thoughtful about the people and their place on the team and how we have things put together at the moment. I've been very lucky to be able to do that, but it's definitely been something that I've worked on over the past, 2 years. So that's one thing. But, I've put together, classes and research assignments, and I put together a research curriculum for the first year writing program here at University of Baltimore. But again, I could not have done that without wonderful colleagues and collaborators. And so, assignments and all the stuff that goes along with that, I've been able to put together. I also think, I think creating spaces as well for different needs and different people. I'm lucky that I have colleagues and a dean and associate deans who are game to let me try stuff. So we put together a room here in the library that we call it the quiet room, but it's just like it's got all the shades are drawn, and we've got soft seating and a white noise machine. And, sometimes we jokingly refer to it as the crying room, in case someone needs a space to just, for that. I think that's kind of something cool that we've been able to put together that I certainly wouldn't have thought that coming in, to this position, like, oh, that's what we need to do. But turned out it was a need, and we were able to do it.
That's wonderful.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. What do they call them? Oh, shoot. Like limited stimuli.
Yeah.
What am I trying to think of? People get overstimulated. They get too much coming at them, and sometimes just need to go and be somewhere where it's quiet and, darker, and like you said, soft seating, and not have anybody yelling at them or, headlines or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful idea. And maybe every law school has that. I've never heard of it before. So that is very interesting. That sounds very valuable.
The word is starting to get around too. And so we do more and more. We have students who are like, they're a little timid, but I set up a way. Well, we set up, we have an online reservation system for our study rooms. So now no one needs permission. They can just reserve it. And when they go in there, it's theirs.
Excellent. Because, they don't want, if you're in need or need a space like that, you don't want to sort of go in and interrupt somebody and not know if you can go in or not. That's terrific.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So how many classes are you teaching now this semester?
So I'm very fortunate that at the moment, I don't have to teach a class this semester at all. Yes, my colleagues have all, they're all, ambitious, and I've been able to make sure that they have the opportunities to teach their own classes as well. So right now I have some sort of free time, which is
terrific.
Yeah, it's very helpful, because starting next year, I'll be taking over as director of the second semester portion of our first year legal writing program.
Okay.
In addition to everything else. So I'll be managing 20 sections of our written and oral advocacy class. Which
20 sections?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I get help. We'll have adjuncts for small groups, and, we have large group lectures. We've got it all. There's a great setup, I think, that we use to do that. But yeah, there will be 20 adjunct professors helping me, and I'll be managing all of that.
That's a big assignment. That's a big program. And so I don't even know how big you are. How many law students do you admit each year? This might be a better question.
About 225.
Okay. And then do you ever have people that join second semester, transfer, or is that not done with law schools?
We have a few, not very many. I would say like 7.
Okay.
Offhand. And I only think, I guess, from what I know from people who are like, hey, I need Lexis and Westlaw, and how do I get access to, to this, or, just, getting people to make sure that they at least are aware of what they have and have access to. So we don't have, I think, in or out, we don't really have a huge number of transfers.
Okay. No, I just asked that. I went to business school and not law school, and we would have people come in January, for the second semester. We were on semesters, and I was always surprised. It doesn't seem like something you would change, because MBA is only 2 years, at least where I went. I wondered if you got that too. Interesting. So do you, when you talk about that, when you talk about every first year taking legal writing second semester, and you're going to have 20 sections and 20 adjunct, how do you guys use AI? these days, like in that kind of class or any other instance that you want to use?
That's a good question. So we are, I would say that at this point, we're still learning like everybody,
Right.
and there's, various people who have various levels of interest
Mm-hmm.
in this. And so I think we are trying to catch up to what we have and what we have access to, in addition to what our students will have, and trying to figure out how we're going to use that. So, we've been using it in teaching. All of the students have access to the products through Lexis and Westlaw, and of course, they all have access to ChatGPT if they want it.
Right.
And so, we've had some lectures on it, like in the first year curriculum. Everybody's gotten something, but I think it's sort of scattered as to some people will use it in their classrooms and then other people don't. And I know one of the things that I think we're working towards is actually a policy for the whole law school. That's a thing on the to-do list. That's definitely ringing.
Permissible use and reporting and that kind of thing. I have a good friend who's a professor undergrad. She teaches communications at a local university in New Jersey here. And, they have a policy and students are allowed to use it in writing, but they're required to affirm whether they have or not. And she said it's a real problem. They'll use it and think that they won't be discovered. And they say, oh, no, I didn't use it. Yeah, exactly. So it's a real challenge for this small school. But I'm sure that doesn't happen in law school.
Well, it's interesting. As I've been preparing to be director of the writing, the portion of the writing program, I was going through like some boot camps and some training sessions. And there was a professor who has been teaching writing for a while. And I was shocked because she was like, I don't care if they use it. If they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat. And, maybe I'll find out, maybe I won't. It'll happen eventually. And, they know better. And I just thought that's kind of a liberating way to think of it, because so many of us are just, pulling our hair out, trying to figure out like what to do or how to deal with it. And
right.
You can't, it's not going to disappear. You can't hide from it. So,
and there is the point that they're cheating themselves. If they're not truly learning it, if they're not truly doing the work. But I think it's a puzzle. And so I was wondering with the school, what was going on with that. How do you guys use, or your librarians use AI in research?
Well, I think we use it whenever something comes up and we have the ability to use it. We're teaching it to the students. We're hosting faculty training sessions. We put together a LibGuide. I have a colleague who's really enthusiastic about it. And so he's the one, every time I see something, I send that to him, and I'm like relying on him to keep us all updated. But, as far as how we're using it, I know I personally, when I was starting to work through like the problem that I'm going to use for the writing assignment next year, I went to, one of the AI products and from one of our vendors and said, find me, this circuit split on this topic. And, I went through some of the stuff and I found some, interesting and useful resources that it prompted to me. I haven't used it for writing in research, like writing a memo or anything like that. But I know some folks have, just to see how it works. I've used, AI to write letters of recommendation. I use it to fix, and like if I wanted to write someone a quick note of thanks or something like that, I'll write it up and then I'll give it to ChatGPT and say, make this even nicer. And it's fun.
Good. Well, that's what I was going to ask. There's using it in teaching, using it in research. I was going to ask if there are other ways, because lots of people, write something and then they want to punch it up, or they want it to be stronger or softer or any of that. And so you're doing that.
Definitely.
And so you guys, you don't teach it as a law school class, but the librarians let the students know how to use it?
Since we have access, it's just on that to-do list. You need to learn it and figure it out. And so we collaborate and we try different things. And, the way we got that to our students this semester is that the writing class where all the 1Ls are taking, we did some sessions with all the sections on AI. And so they got a lesson on AI in writing from their writing professor and a lesson in AI for research from the law librarians.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so you guys are on top of it. It's in the system. And
We try.
but as fast as things are going, when you do that class, when you're in charge of that class next spring, you'll probably be teaching different things, AI related.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I just told our dean yesterday is that, someone was talking about generative AI. And I said, well, there's a new type of AI out, agentic AI. And, it's not like totally different and, stop the presses, but it's an enhanced or a new version. And, so if we're going to talk about AI and how it is, we need to at least know what kinds of AI there are and what each product has and what we're talking about when we say the law school is using it.
Exactly, to be informed. So did you think of practicing law at all? I mean, you went to law school and you fell in love with the library, but you came out with a JD and I presume you took the bar?
I did.
That's the bar.
Wonderful story again from my mentor, Camille Broussard, who said, you don't do this and not take the bar. And I said, I've got a couple months, so let me do this. Camille said so. And, and I definitely, treated it as this is the one time you get to do this. You have to move. You have to go to Arizona. So you better get this done and do it right. So whatever talking to I gave to myself worked. So yes, I took the bar and I passed, and I found out, I think it was 2 weeks exactly before I moved from New York to Arizona.
You got the news. You were on the list in the New York Law Journal.
Yes, exactly. I still have a copy.
Well, good. Good for you. Good for you. No, I know about that list. Excellent. Excellent. No, my friend Elena has a JD and she never practiced. I don't think she took the bar, but she said it's important knowledge to have. When you go to law school, you're learning important things about the way our culture works and, to support friends and family members to have that stack of knowledge is important. But good for Camille. But good for Camille for making you take the bar because, people that go through all that work. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. And it helps, it helps for me when I'm, if I'm counseling students or just being a resource for somebody to come to if they're worried about it or if they're trying to decide what to do. Yep. I at least have been through that, like I do sometimes. Well, to get back to your other question, once I found the track to law librarianship, I did not want to practice. I sort of thought I liked the idea of international law when I was starting law school. But no, I loved the library. As soon as I got in with the librarians, I was like, this is where I belong.
Yeah, these are my people.
Yeah.
No, I thought when you said you had the theater background and you were in New York and did you wait tables? You said you did everything a starving actor does.
Yeah, I guess I worked retail. I'm trying to think. I didn't wait tables in New York, and I bounced from New York to Pittsburgh to Chicago and sort of around as well. So I did some different things. I did a little bit of summer stock. But yeah, I did a lot of those. What did I do? I did telemarketing for a dating service. Yep. I did all of that. I cleaned dance studios for cheap dance classes.
Well, I thought when you said you were in the theater and then you decided to go to law school, I thought you were going to say that you were on track to be an entertainment attorney. That was something you wanted to do, was legal work for the theater business. But then you fell in with libraries. I mean, did you have any sort of path in mind when you went to law school before you learned about law librarianship?
Not really. I didn't really know lawyers, and I will say I didn't really know what lawyers did.
Right.
Outside of, I knew that I didn't know because everyone said it's not Law and Order. It's not what you see on TV. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll learn it.
Well, I think when people are young, like my son was convinced he wanted to be an engineer. I mean, he's a math science kid and he always was. And I'm a math brain, but not a science brain. So he wanted to be an engineer. But he didn't even know what it was. And he was convinced that he wanted to be a mechanical engineer. So he applied to several schools. And one of them, was one of the schools said, look, we have way too many mechanical engineers in the school right now. So we have other types of engineers. You want to be a civil engineer, you want to be, any other kind, but we're not, if mechanical engineering is your path, then you're probably not going to get in. And he was just crushed. And I was like, you don't even know what a mechanical engineer does. You don't even know. And at 18, nobody knows what they want to do, I don't think, unless they're really lucky.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you found law librarianship while you were in law school. So you were what, 20 something?
Yep. Let's see. I started law school when I was 20. I think I was 25. I think I turned 25 during orientation.
Okay. So that first year you worked in the library and you found your path. That's
Yep.
terrific. That's terrific. See, I didn't find mine till a little later. I started with Matthew Bender at 30, and I was living in Northern Virginia. And so I had a couple of zip codes in DC, and then I had the whole top half of the state of Virginia. So that's some pretty decent sized cities, but also a lot of country, 1 and 2 person law firms. And when I started working with the bigger firms, then they had law librarians. And I was like, that's what I should be doing. I never knew there was such a thing. Never heard of law librarians. I mean, I knew librarians, but not law librarians. I was like, that's what I should be doing. And so then it took me another quite a while, but I got my MLAS in 2011 and then was laid off from Lexis. Our department was eliminated in 2014. So then I got to go be a law librarian. So it's my second career. But you found out at 25. So that is terrific.
Yeah,
Very,
it was,
very cool.
I mean, it's that, yeah, I feel like that's actually something I always tell young people is don't stress, you don't have to know what you want to do until you're much older. And don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't say, I have to do this or I won't be happy.
Right.
Life will take you on your way.
And that's what I kept trying to tell my son. I was like, you're not supposed to know what you want. He was like, I don't know what I want to do. I was like, nobody expects you to. Nobody expects you to. But kids, I mean, he's 27 now, so this is 10 years ago, but I think they're expected to set a path and they don't have a clue. How can you know? I was like, here's the point. You try all different things and then you'll know what you like. So you like this about that job, you don't like this about that job, and you gradually figure out what works for you and keep trying different things. But I think there's so much tension and so much pressure on kids these days that they're like, I have to get something that's going to make money.
Yeah. Well, and I even my partner is from the UK, and he had to decide that he wanted to be a veterinarian when he was 16. He had to pick a path. I can't even imagine what I would have chosen at 16. I mean, it probably was not any kind of full-time job.
Right. Now, is he practicing veterinarian?
No.
Okay.
No,
so
he very similarly. While he was in vet school, he finished up that, at Cambridge and ended up at Hopkins here, and is now does human genetics research. Oh. He's an associate professor at Hopkins Medical School.
Well, that's
he runs
wonderful.
a lab that does cancer research.
That's fabulous. My father was a veterinary pathologist, and so, and none of us went into science, So I have to think he might have wanted at least one of us to go into science, but none of us had that bent or that set on that path. So some of the most important learnings that you have gleaned from your work as a law librarian?
Oh, goodness. Yes. So I would say something that I think I continue to tell myself is not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So sometimes you only have, you have to eventually, time runs out, or tell my students, sometimes money will run out and you just need to call it done and hope for the best. And usually if you do what you're supposed to, then it'll work out. I also would say something that I try to tell my team, particularly the ones that are newer, is assume good intentions. Yeah. Assume that people are, don't assume that people are being, mean or rude offhand, and that, sometimes you just have to learn communication styles. And believe it or not, different people communicate differently. And someone who seems like they are mad at you or unhappy with you, if they, in an email, if they were to talk to you about it in person, you would not have that impression at all. And it would come across completely differently. And so it's very helpful to just assume good intentions and positivity from the get-go, and make people prove to you that they're mean or that, or that they're, unpleasant. I don't know. I just it's happened to me so many times that I just feel like it's an important thing to know and to learn.
Yeah.
And especially because, people get to different places in their lives and other outside things and factors are affecting everything, especially today.
Right.
Many things may have nothing to do with you.
Exactly. They could be upset about something else entirely, or not upset and just distracted, or could be anything.
Yeah.
Could be anything. No, I think that's really nice. I try to remember that too, to presume positivity, to presume that, somebody's nice until they prove otherwise. You have another one you want to mention? You're looking down.
I have a list. So one of the things I think that goes along with don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good is that you can keep fighting for the right thing or the way you think things should be while also doing what you need to do to get through this week, this month, and this year. So some of that's just being a good collaborator as well.
Right. And keeping the end in mind, keeping the larger goal in mind.
Right.
Which is hard sometimes in the moment.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and especially, strong-minded people, librarians, lawyers, business people, like we often know what we want.
Right.
And
right. True. You can keep going through your list if you want.
Oh, those are the highlights.
That's it. Okay. Okay. Or the main ones anyway. And then again, I can't get over how lucky you were to find out early on, to find your path early on. That's terrific. So you wouldn't change anything about that. You wouldn't change anything about, meeting Camille and going to Arizona and taking the bar and passing it. What else? What do you wish you had known when you started out as a law librarian?
Oh gosh. Well, from when I started out, I think I wish I had known how much I would look back fondly on the times where I was struggling, and in all different ways. Like when I was really, really struggling, and I was trying, and I was growing up, and I was trying to, I found this career, and I was trying to make it my career. Like seemed very hard then, and now when I look back, I'm like, oh, that was great. Those frustrating, painful moments that were happening, like that was awesome. I'm so glad I did that.
Yep.
And the same thing with, there were times where I felt completely overwhelmed and with my work, and and I look back on it, I'm like, there was a period of time when I was working in Florida and I went in on Saturdays. It was awesome. It was good. I did such good work. I was very busy. I was focused, and the rewards came not as quickly as I thought they would, or at the time I thought they should, but they did. And again, I look back at that time like, man, that was awesome. I was hustling, and it was great.
Yeah. You were learning.
Yeah.
You were learning so much at the time. I remember in business school, I would work in the summer and make enough money to pay for, the first semester and part of the second semester. And then I put it on credit cards every month until it was time to go to work again. And so then I would spend another summer working. But people would grouse about how hard it was and how rough it was. And I was like, are you kidding? I have like 2 tests this week, and otherwise I'm just, studying and reading and going to class. This is not hard, guys. This is not hard. Wait till you go to work. And maybe it was mostly people who hadn't worked before they went to business school. But I was like, this is not hard. You're going to look back on this and think, oh, that was a great time. That was a great 2 years. And it was in Bloomington, which is a wonderful college town.
Oh, Indiana.
And yeah.
Okay.
Indiana. Funny thing there, the business school, the SOB, was in the same building as the library school, and it was School of Library and Information Science. And so I knew the librarian at the library downstairs, but I had no idea what SLIS was. I was like, what is SLIS? And I'm in the same building, every day, 5 days a week for 2 years. And now I think it's a real shame that I didn't know. I mean, I could have stayed and taken another graduate degree right then and not had to wait another 25 years to find out what I should be doing. But it's funny to think back, like people in the same building didn't know what you did, didn't know what you offered.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm with you.
At the same time, you were focused. So,
well, that's true.
You were there to do a job and to get,
the 1 degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. Looking back, that was a great time. Those couple of years, and the first years with Matthew Bender, they were wonderful. They were just great.
Yeah.
So you So you've been really active in local librarianship groups. SEAL, obviously. Were you in LAGNY? Were you in Florida Association of Law Librarians? Were you in others in different cities?
Yes. Well, so even right here in Maryland, we have, so SEAL is the southeastern region, but there's also the chapter. Well, no, that's a chapter. It's, I guess, the more specific region. So the Law Library Association of Maryland.
Yes, LAM.
Like LAM, yeah. So that's a
Yep.
chapter too. And I was the president of LAM, I think back in 2015.
So early
So
on.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did
Excellent.
that. Yeah.
Excellent. And then SEAL, which is bigger. So SEAL, for those of you that don't know, goes all the way from Maryland to Texas. It's a big area. No, I think it's great.
It's one of the bigger ones.
It is. It is that. So what motivated you? Because it takes time, it takes energy, it takes, patience and collaboration. What made you get involved in library associations?
Oh, goodness. I mean, at first, I will say it was, it was what you were supposed to do. I mean, everybody, Camille, Mike Chirazi, and the other librarians that I had worked with. I mean, Meg Butler, who was at New York Law School when I was in law school, and working there, but also, she and I have stayed such good friends, and she was so active and she knew everybody, and it just seemed like that was what you were supposed to do. This is the volunteering you do, some of the volunteering that you do to, build your profession and make sure that the health of your profession is good. And when I started, I just loved it because I was meeting all of these people and they were all interesting and, like more of the same, more like, these are my people. Yay. So I just kept doing, and I kept saying yes to things. And if there was an opening, I'd volunteer. And, and that sort of generated a lot of the work that I had to do sometimes on Saturdays. But it's been great fun. And now I've gotten to meet people in all different parts of our profession and all over the world. So it keeps giving back to me.
Yeah, it's so rewarding, isn't it?
Yes.
So were you part of LAGNY? Were you a student member of LAGNY?
I was not. No,
okay.
I hadn't gotten in there yet. And then by the time I was finishing law school and I was headed to Arizona, it was like study for the bar. And
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I only asked because I'm like, did I meet you in those early years? But I didn't remember meeting you.
Mm-mm.
I was in LAGNY already. It was funny. I spent 7 years in Northern Virginia. And so I was part of LLSDC. And then I came to New York. And so I joined LAGNY. And then I was covering clients in Philadelphia. So I joined GIPLA. And then I came to your SEAL conference. And so I joined SEAL. And then in 2019, I joined ALUNI, which is upstate New York, Association of Law Librarians of Upstate New York. And then earlier this year, I joined NoCal. And New Jersey when I was looking for a job in 2014, 2015, joined New Jersey Law Library Association. So, yeah. So I'm part of a lot of them, and it's great fun.
Yeah, you're like a power member.
Well, multi anyway. Yeah, but it's lovely and the groups. But you do get to meet a lot of people, which is really wonderful.
Yeah,
really wonderful. So, what are your thoughts? And it could be personal thoughts, it could be library director thoughts on the future of AI and what it's going to mean to you and to your library and to your school.
Oh goodness, it's a fad. It's going to fizzle out.
No, you don't really think that.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be
if I said that.
Like CD-ROMs. That would be okay.
Yes,
that would be okay with me.
I would love. That would be amazing if I actually thought that and it turned out to be true. I would love that. But no. I mean, I think the future of it. I think it's going to be another tool in our toolbox, and it's we've had new technology and new advances have come to us in the past, and we are the ones who are responsible for learning it and training other people on it and evaluating it and its uses and the pitfalls and training people on all of that. And I think it's here. It's it's part of our future, and we're going to continue, I think, in many ways to do the same as we always. I mean, if it was a new digest system, when that was new one day, I guess someone said, remember Lexis and Westlaw was going to take all our jobs away. Just sort of, change the nature of what we did, but still what we do essentially is the same. So I think it's going to be more of that. I think, we've got to learn. Luckily, we're good at that.
And this is what we do. This is what we're trained to do. We learn systems and we identify what's important and we evaluate them. Like for firms and for schools and for all kinds of libraries. This is what we do. This is what we're trained at.
Yep.
We can analyze something, make recommendations, train people on it. Yeah.
Yep. And we know our patrons and we know the people who we work with and our colleagues. We know what they need, and that's what we're going to continue to do, I think.
Right. This is our expertise. Yeah, I think you're right. It's one more. I mean, I was around when these small 1 or 2 person law firms in, the country in Virginia didn't have computers yet or didn't use them. I mean, maybe their secretaries used them for word processing, their admin assistants used them for word processing, but they were like, no, I don't need to do that. I mean, you know how that ended. People that didn't get on board were really left behind and eventually had to get on board.
Yeah, but those days are not that long ago. I mean, I have worked in my, just since I've been at UB, I have, had a colleague at a law firm who was like, I was explaining something for them and they're like, can you wait till my assistant gets here? Because she has to turn the computer on. And I was like,
Really? Wait, is this in the last
Wait,
few
what?
years?
I mean, it's in the last 6 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I would not have thought that behavior was still around. That's interesting. That's interesting. No, when I was with Matthew Bender, I mean, the attorneys were working on it and you'd block text, like we'd show them, we'd demo different things and I would block the text and they'd say, wait, show me how you did that. And I'm happy to show you how I did that, because sometimes you would block it. It would it would go down for pages,
mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh no, just if you want to control that, shift and the down arrow. But if you hadn't used it that much, it wasn't intuitive,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what are you proudest of?
Oh, goodness.
Take your time.
Work-wise, like here, like with law library? Yeah, I mean, it'll have to be a couple of things because
That's fine.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I could pick just one thing. I will say, so a couple of different things. I think I worked on the Committee on Relations with Information Vendors when I was with AALL. Mm-hmm. So I worked on CRIV and then I was the chair of CRIV. I mean, I don't think anything groundbreaking happened that year, but I was pretty proud of that experience because it's tough. It's tough to navigate because you usually only hear from people when they're angry and they're mad or they're upset about something. Right. And that was something that I think I learned from that experience quite a bit just on. So I'm very proud of the time that I spent as chair of that committee, and then just navigating between the two, the vendors and the organization and the members and the people and the various expectations. Right. So that's good. I mean, I think I'm pretty proud of many of the things that I've been able to accomplish since I came to the University of Baltimore. I landed at the right time in the right place with the right people to do some pretty cool stuff. I got a lot of leeway to do things. And, I mentioned earlier that I was able to put together a research curriculum. Right. And, there are places where I just nobody would have ever been interested in what I had to say, on that level. And I got to do that and put it together. And then the pandemic hit and we were like, well, first time, let's just roll it out. And so, and that's something that we have continued to work on. And, now that I'm the director, I have wonderful colleagues with great ideas who tweak it and change it and, mold it to fit the needs of today. And so that I think that's pretty cool that I was able to get our library much more integrated into the curriculum in that way and visible. People call the library faculty professor now, and that's kind of cool. So that's nice.
It is. And the team that you built, you had mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of the work that we've done with team and getting people who want to be here and want to do what they're doing and moving things around and getting people placed in the right spots. It's not always easy to get all of that to happen. And I mean, again, I the right place at the right time with the right people, and I think we're in a good.
Wonderful. I'm delighted. delighted. I was thrilled to meet you 2 years ago, and so happy that you joined me today. Thank you. Thank you for your time and your contributions and everything you've done for the school and for SEAL and for Lamb. It's not Mal, because that's the other one. For Lamb, is there anything else you'd want to share that I have forgotten to ask about or neglected to give you an opening for?
I don't think so. I think that covers it. I'm thrilled that you asked me, and I'm thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for whatever situation you can create so we can chat. I'm in. It's been wonderful to talk to you again, and
it's been lovely to talk to you. We see each other fleetingly at the meetings, but this is great. So thank you again for your time and for talking with me.
Thanks for listening to The Practicing Law Librarian. Be sure to subscribe and listen to our latest episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. And to learn more about the Practicing Law Institute, please visit pli.edu. To learn more about PLI Plus, which provides electronic access to the full collection of PLI Press publications, and schedule a demo with a member of our team, please visit pli.edu/plus. Please note that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast represent those of the individuals being interviewed and not necessarily those of PLI.